Okay, we're live. Hey, welcome to the Self-Publishing Roundtable's weekly roundup of indie publishing news and stuff for the 3rd of April. It's actually the 4th of April for me, but it's the 3rd of April for everyone else because you all live in the past. Anyway, I am Erica Conroy, and today I am joined by fellow author Jamie Dodge. Hi, Jamie.
Hello.
Hi. Now, unfortunately, there's unavailable. Normally, I'd probably cancel it if it was just the two of us, but we weren't on last week, so fuck it. Right, let's get down to business. First item of news, because we've got 2 weeks to cover, basically. So, author Deborah Bladen had to put off publishing her new book called Torn, which was just published yesterday, actually, due to a rather tricky situation. One of her ARC readers, who had received an early version of Torn, not fully edited version, had then sold it to a third party who then started selling it on their own website. It wasn't hard for Bladen to discover who the culprit was, as she'd only handed out the one ARC at the time. What a dumbass. Legal action has ensued, but the result of this won't be known for a while. What are your thoughts on this, Jamie, on Deborah's situation and just on plagiarism in general, I suppose?
Well, I think what's going to come out of it is authors are going to just stop using ARC readers and beta readers and just go to professionals from now on. Because this is not the first time this has happened, from what I've read. And it's a shame because you want to be able to share your work with your readers, and they take advantage of it. And these people went about it very nicely. I would have, they'd be in jail if it were possible, which, I mean, this woman stole their work.
Oh, no, that's the second item of news. This is specifically about Deborah Bladen's situation. The other one of the Irish authors is separate. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. But, well, I mean, the ARC reader basically did this. She sold it for a profit. So she stole their property, their intellectual property. So Deborah Bladen, she said she felt sorry for the person and this and that. No, they screwed you. She tried to screw you, or he. I don't know if it was a man or a woman, but they tried to screw the woman and her husband, I guess is what it is. And it's I hate to see the loss of beta readers and ARC readers, but that's where I see it going, because it's people are stealing other people's works, and that's just, it's sad. It really is.
Yeah, it basically comes down as to whether or not you want to take the risk. And it is a risk you do take, and some people get around it by, try to mitigate that risk by using websites like InstaFreebie, which inserts the recipient's name and details into the actual book. But I'm not too sure how easy that was to actually hack out. But it is an option for some authors. And so some authors, they can't afford to go to the professional services. And what with Amazon cracking down on the current reviews, I mean, reviews are disappearing all over the place because of some perceived idea that they are friends with the author, or in other instances with bloggers who are reviewing, they're including their affiliate codes, and it's apparently against Amazon's terms of conditions that a reviewer cannot make any money, benefit or make any money off of their reviews. So it is a bit of a hard discussion. I'll just outline the second issue of plagiarism that popped up in the news recently. It happened actually last year when the original co-authors of a mystery series discovered, purely by accident, because they happened to be on Twitter, and a reader tweeted to the author of who had plagiarized the story, saying, "Hey, this is this person's story. What the fuck?" And they saw that tweet, which clued them into it. So that they found out that their out-of-print mystery books that they'd written 13 years ago were doing really, really well on Amazon as ebooks. So they were quite shocked and uncertain as to why an author had decided to publish their book. who they'd made name and point of view changes. So they sat on it for a really long time, waiting to see if the second book that the plagiarism author was releasing would be the second book in their series. And they found out it was also theirs. So they did some snooping and even contacted the author. But ultimately, this is what really irks me. They did bugger all about it other than get Amazon to take down the books. They for some reason felt, like you said earlier, this weird sympathy towards the author because the plagiarist came out and responded with, "Oh, I'm really sorry I did this, but I needed money and this is my only job," and shit like this. So, and they bought it.
Yeah, my only job is stealing someone else's work.
Yeah.
What I want to say is a bunch of curse-laden sentences right now, but I'll keep it clean. I don't know why. Plagiarism's been around. Cervantes was accused of plagiarizing Don Quixote. But with the onset of self-publication, it's become ridiculous. It really has. These people actually, their response is just asinine to me. It's like, go after these people. And Amazon's response, too, for that matter. They should do something about it, too. I don't honestly know what it should be, other than taking their, pulling their books and banning them for life.
Well, that's essentially what's happened. Although the plagiarist author's paperbacks are still available on Amazon, from what I've seen.
And what really? How hard is it to set up another account with Amazon under another name? So do something about it, because it affects Amazon too, not just the author. It affects Amazon too. Mm-hmm. I think how the people went about it, they sat on it, and it's like, no, that's your work. Mm-hmm. That's something you sweat and bled over. Go after these people. Go after the person who did it, and go after the companies who were selling it, especially after they were notified. And then they took them down from one store and put them up on another store.
Did they?
Yes. Yeah. I don't remember which website it was I read that on. So they actually pulled it from whatever websites they had on and then put it up on other ones. And I know it's a little hard because they were dealing with someone who was out of the United States, who was actually selling the books. But it's like, okay, you found out they're doing it, you go after them. You don't just sit back and say, oh, well, they felt the shame. No, shame stopped. If the lady would have did it once and said, I feel bad, it'll never happen again, I might understand it, But she did it with 3 of their books, and I don't know about the other books that are in her collection. Are they all plagiarized? So I just, like I said, many, many curse-laden sentences. I think everybody will understand.
Yeah. I think what she also said to them when she responded to their inquiries was that she'd only made a few €100 or something off of it. But when Amazon took the books down, they said something like it was actually €15,000 actually. And it's kind of like, what? She's lying to you. Why are you feeling sorry for her?
That's I like I said, I don't get their response at all. It's just that just blows my mind. And also
the fact that they've only just released that information, which just happens to coincide with the release of the original versions of their books on eBook and Amazon. So it's an excellent publicity stunt. But the rest of us are gonna just go, why didn't you do more shit about it at the time?
Yeah.
But it was an interesting read. It was very much interesting read.
And I think every author I know, and I've been doing this now for a year and a half. Every author I know, every indie I know, would go ape shit if somebody stole their works. So did they hold on to this just as a publicity stunt? I don't know. I don't want to call people out on it like that, but it is kind of funny.
Okay, shall we move on to James Patterson? So James Patterson, the big man himself, has decided that he wants to capture audiences who don't have much time to read longer fiction. So he's partnered with Hachette to print what they're calling bookshots, which are much shorter fictions, and they plan to publish about 21 of them for this year, and they'll be shorter and cheaper than regular novels. Duh. And they'll actually be print books too, which is really weird. So Patterson will do his usual thing of either writing them himself or co-writing the books, except for the romances, which will be released as James Patterson Presents, kind of like Alfred Hitchcock Presents. So what are your thoughts on this, Jamie?
I really have nothing good to say about James Patterson, but I think this idea is kind of a throwback. More and more people are going purely digital now. I mean, there are some people who want a tangible book in their hands, but $5 for a 15,000 word book, if it's that, or short, or maybe longer, it's just not doable in this day and age. You know, you could get a 30,000 short on Amazon for 99 cents, and sometimes free. A lot of times free. So, you know, I think he's barking up the wrong tree, but he's also trying to help his publisher. You know, so
because we know how poor Hachette is. I mean, they are having issues with the American market.
Yeah. So I don't think it's going to really work the way he thinks it is. It's just it's past its time.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this. I mean, on the one hand, because it's got his name behind it, I can see that it will actually sell quite a lot of print books, and I think probably his fan base will look at getting the books. But yeah, he's just basically doing what indie authors do with eBooks, you know, because shorter is totally coming back in fashion. This is something we've already capitalized on. So now a traditionally published author is capitalizing on it and throwing his name behind it. So I think they will see some sales, but it'll be interesting to see how long this venture goes for, if it goes past 2016. It might just be a one-off event. It doesn't actually say. Yeah. So no,
it doesn't. I don't. It's hard to tell because he does have a lot of name recognition. Everybody who reads knows who James Patterson is. I just, like I said, it's, you know, people read on their phone more than they do with a book in their hand anymore. So I don't see it. If he would have gone the digital route instead of actual paper, I think it would be a better idea.
I think it wouldn't hurt to go both. I mean, because you can still grab hold of the short commute people at the train station or even the airports. They still, you know, buy last minute paperback books. But digital too would have been a good option.
I don't know. I don't understand why they're so afraid of digital. I mean, all their books are digital now too. But it's like they're afraid, traditionally published authors are afraid of Amazon or, you know, or Apple, any of them. And I don't get it because that's where everything's moving to. It's not moving to go back to paper. It's moving to everything's going to be digital when it comes to reading. So I understand why he's doing it. I think it's silly myself, but, you know, I'm also not a millionaire author, so what do I know?
Well, the music industry have shown us that when a new technology comes along, the previous one disappears, or in the case of vinyl, has a resurgence in a niche. I don't think print will disappear completely altogether, but it will eventually become a bit too expensive to produce, I think. Even though it only costs them a few bucks a book, to make.
And it's honestly, I had all of my stuff in paper, and I just decided to pull them because the sales aren't there. The sales aren't worth doing paper anymore. It actually can cost you if you do it the wrong way. So I'm purely digital now, and I know a lot of authors who decided to do the same thing. They just don't want the hassle of doing, even though you have CreateSpace and those places which make it really easy. It's just not worth doing it anymore. So
fair enough. So speaking of digital and technology, and artificial intelligence recently co-authored a short novel which was cheekily titled "The Day a Computer Writes a Novel." And the book itself made it past the first round of National Literary Prize in Japan, called the Nikihoshi Shinichi Literary Award. And it was one of two entries that they actually submitted for consideration that was written in collaboration with the AI and a group of human authors. But that's not all. Out of the 1,450 entries that they received for the award, 11 of them were apparently written by non-humans. They don't specify if they were all AIs or even if they were animals. But it is interesting. What do you think, Jamie? Are you afraid of possible AI overlords overtaking us in self-publishing, or what?
It disturbs me in a way, but it doesn't, because take Starry Night by Van Gogh. When you look at that painting, you could feel the anguish Van Gogh is going through. It's the same way with the book. We sweat, we bleed over our books. And hopefully that comes across to the reader. Will it be the same thing with an AI? I don't think so, because there's no emotion there. It's just, it's a set of parameters that they put in. So you're not going to get to the heart of what the book's about, what the author's about. And I think in every book, there's a piece of the author in every book they write. At least I hope so.
As long as the editor hasn't edited out their voice, yes.
Exactly. But it will be interesting to see where they go with it. It really doesn't scare me, though, because I just can't see it catching on that much, but you never know. We've all read books where writers were outlawed, so I hope it doesn't come to that, but
I found it interesting that they had a Japanese science fiction novelist who was part of the press conference around the award, named Satoshi Hase. And this is a quote for him. "I was surprised at the work because it was a well-structured novel, but there are still some problems to overcome to win the prize, such as character descriptions." So I thought that was interesting. But we've got,
No, I would say that's one of the big things is developing that character. Just describing your characters can take. With me, it took in my first book, it literally took me a week to figure out what my characters actually looked like. So.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because half the time I don't even bother.
Well,
lucky to get eye colors.
I don't do it as much. It was my first book, so I wanted it. It was my baby, so I had their voices in my head, but I wanted to know what they looked like. And now it's like, okay, I have a general idea. This person's blonde hair, blue eyed, 6 foot tall, whatever. And I'm good with that now. But back then, like I said, I just with an AI, it will be interesting to see what they come up with, given the set of parameters. But writers don't work within parameters, because if we did, the books would be boring.
We just went right to tropes.
Exactly. And we break the rules constantly. You're not supposed to do this. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm going to do this anyway. If you put that in with an AI, they're not going to do that. And well, where could that piece of storyline have gone if you let the mind work? I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I might see if I can track down the actual story, and if I can find it, I'll include it on our show notes when they're published tomorrow. It would be interesting to read, but I think the fact that it comes down to this, it was a co-author, not the author.
Yeah.
So it still has a ways to go, but the fact it did get past the first reading, while the second book didn't.
that was kind of. I was kind of shocked by it that it got passed, because I know a little bit about that award. Not a lot, but a little bit about that award. And they're kind of strict. I mean, it's Japanese. They're strict about everything that's not a stereotype. It's just true. So it's I'm shocked that it actually got past the first round. But
well, that's why it made the news, you know. Otherwise, we would never have known that AIs and at least 9 other non-humans are capable of writing or co-writing.
I would like to know what the other non-humans are.
No, that was probably the most intriguing part of the article, after the fact that the AI got past round 1, and the fact it was right at the end of the article, eventually going, I want to know.
Start out with that. That makes it more interesting. But it's, I don't know. I would like to know what non-humans are.
Well, we'll scour the internet and see if we can find out. Okay, so here's some numbers for you. According to Nielsen, self-publishing made up 22% of UK ebook sales in 2015. Proof that self-pubbed ebooks are being found and read. However, this amount is probably much larger than even Nielsen realized, as they only track ebooks with ISBNs. And we know how many self-published authors bother to get an ISBN, especially when it costs so much money in America. It's free in New Zealand, by the way. So it's probably a shit ton more that have been sold than it's been recorded. So what are your thoughts on this one, Jamie?
From the research I did, what I found out is Nielsen is full of shit. Now, this article was strictly talking about the UK, and I think those numbers are way too low, because over here we're seeing ebooks, self-pubs are about 47%, I think is what it is, of what's being sold online. And Brits are just as big reader as we are here, so I think that number's way higher. I think that publishing companies are wanting to quash those numbers because they don't want it known that indies are actually becoming more and more popular. And like I said, Nielsen, I don't pay attention to Nielsen because they don't count the books without ISBNs. I don't have them on my books because they are expensive.
And I don't want mine because they're free.
Listen, you just stop. That's not nice. And by the way, the number's 42% over here, not 47.
Oh, what is it? Is that according to author earnings or somewhere else?
That's author earnings. That's hard to say. So, and that's why I say Nielsen's full of it, because if you're only counting that small part, well, yeah, that number's going to be low. But how many of the non-traditional shadow publishing, that kind of thing, are you not counting?
Still, 22% for ISBNs, I think, is still pretty high.
Oh, absolutely.
For self-published books. But yeah, they are missing out a huge huge amount of self-published ebooks in there.
That's why I said earlier that the trend is moving more towards ebooks, and the trend that Author Earnings has been seeing over the last 5 years. I think they've been doing it something like 3 to 5 years.
I think it's only something like 2 or so years, 2 to 3.
It's only 2. Okay, yeah. So, but it's the number of people actually reading indies is growing every year. So, and I think that scares the shit out of the Big Five, because you know, they've had it their way for so long, and now it's not going their way. So, I don't know. That's all I got on that one.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, basically, I think Data Guy recently presented at the DBW, or something along those lines. I can't remember the acronym. It's some kind of traditional publishing convention, and talked about in the numbers how they were gained and how they could be used for traditional publishing. So I think some of the traditional publishing side has woken up a bit to the fact that the data that they are receiving isn't as accurate or as complete as they thought or hoped for. So yes, hopefully that means they will pay a bit more attention. But we'll see what comes of that, or if anything comes of it. Possibly Data Guy could get hired by them, but we never know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Amazon sells 65% of books in the United States. I don't know the numbers around the rest of the world. Amazon releases their figures. All the Big Five has to do is look at them.
Yeah.
But they don't want to. They don't trust Amazon, you know, for whatever reason. Well, everybody knows what the reasons are, but you know, they're worth looking at least, and they don't. I honestly don't think they want to look at those numbers because it'll show that their authors aren't doing as well as, you know, Howie, some of the big indies out there. Well, he's not really indie anymore, but you know, even some of us regular Joes are getting more sales. I'm saying some of us regular Joes are getting more sales than some of the big names when it comes to ebooks.
Oh, definitely. And the fact that a lot of traditionally published authors can't say for certain that the royalty information and sales information that they're receiving from the traditional publisher is actually accurate. If they want to do that, they have to request an audit. And I don't believe many of them do for various reasons.
No.
But yeah, the author earnings itself, if a traditionally published author could gawk at them, it would be interesting to see what their thoughts would be, if it would be denial or if it would be an eye-opening experience for them.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we move along to the last little item here, a bit of frivolity?
Yeah.
So the adult colouring book craze is basically crazy, with options from David Bowie to hipster beards and men in uniform who are only half in said uniforms. Woohoo! And it's no secret that adult colouring books helped prop up print sales for many publishers and bookstores over 2015. But this has a really interesting flow-on effect to other industries. So it's led to basically a shortage in coloured pencils, which is rather amusing. Faber-Castell, the world's largest manufacturer of wood pencils, even admitted that they've started running extra shifts at their factories. What do you think about that one, Jamie?
It's nuts. It's fun. It's nostalgic. I can't do it, unfortunately, because of my hands, or I would be. Everybody in my household and my extended family the adults have coloring books. The kids are on their devices. The adults are coloring. So, it's crazy. I went into a craft store for something, and they had this huge thing of different adult coloring books, and it's like, are you kidding me? I hadn't heard of it until about 3 months ago, and and it's, my sister's like, "Oh, I gotta get that." And I was like, "Really?" But it's just blown up, and you bring up the pencil companies have to run extra shifts because they're running out of pencils. It's like, wow, I never would have thought that would happen, but I think to me it's a good stress reliever anyway. To just sit down and
do something that
color that flower. Yeah,
color the flower, take your mind off everything, and
I don't see anything wrong with it. I just think it's crazy how I mean the sales of coloring books. I was looking at some of the number. I didn't write them down. I forgot. They're just massive with these coloring books. Yeah, and it's like and plus Russell Brand is against them, so I'm for them. So.
Well, they do make for an excellent gift come birthdays and Christmas, and I've even, taken advantage of that. It's especially good when they come with their own little pack of pencils. But yeah, it is extremely telling, though, that this huge craze is, at least for Barnes & Noble, one of the reasons why they did so well in print sales for the last quarter of last year. So they're making they've got no bones about it, but if it hadn't come along, this craze, I wonder, just how little sales Barnes & Noble at least would have reported for their prints. So
that's an interesting question, because I don't, changing the subject to Barnes & Noble, they screwed up so badly when it came to the Nook. They could have done so much with that and actually been competition to Kindle, but they said, "Oh, we'll just let that sit in the corner," and Amazon blew them away, and it's their own fault. And so, I do think print-wise, it was coloring books that saved them because the sales are just they're ridiculously high, and it kind of makes you mad as an author because you spend all that time writing, and somebody comes along with a picture of a flower and they're making thousands and thousands of dollars. But,
well, that's the thing, Jamie. I know a lot of authors who are actually creating their own coloring books and having them printed on demand or what have you. So you could do it too.
I don't know if it would work with my books, but actually another member of the collective Sci-Fi, and she does that. She has coloring books, journals that go along with her books, and it's like I have absolutely no artistic talent. I can barely draw a straight line. So,
and saying that, I picked up one of these coloring books when I was in the bookstore a few weeks ago, and I was flicking through it, and on the back of each page was a copyright for places like Shutterstock and all the theme. And I'm like, shit, man, how much money would they have had to expend to get an extended license just for that one image? But they're obviously making enough back in sales in order to justify that.
Well, wasn't it a lady in Ireland that actually started this?
I think it was
I read that.
Yeah.
Scotland?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the publisher was like, "Oh no, it'll never work," and they sold out in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
and because they wanted to do a children's book, and she said, "No, well, let's do a adult book too." And now there's adult coloring parties, and it's like it.
Really,
more power to you, and it's like it's crazy. But hey, you gotta have fun in your life, and that's an easy way to have fun. And they're $12 for a book.
So depends on your country.
Well, this is true.
Pretty expensive here, but get them on sale. They're usually all right.
Well, that's what happens when you live on a little island in the middle of nowhere.
All right, well, that's where we should end it. We've got no other news items to discuss for this episode. My thanks to Jamie Dodge for coming in today. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you for having me.
And what's your website where people can find you?
Oh, I'm at jamiedodge.wordpress.com or thecollectivesci-fi.com. You can find me in both
Awesome.
places.
Awesome, great. And if you want to find more information about us, we're the self-publishing Roundtable, and we do lots of interviews with authors at least once a week, and we also have some very interesting blog posts to check us out. We also running a multi-author cross-promo giveaway for science fiction and fantasy. So if you're interested in that, go to the website. There's a link right at the top of the page. And I guess we'll see you either next week or on Thursday if you're watching the podcast. Thank you again. Bye-bye, internets.
Bye-bye.